I want to thank you all very, very much for coming tonight. My name is Brian Anderson. I'm the editor of the Manhattan Institute's City Journal. It's a great pleasure to introduce Luigi Zingales, one of our valued and, let me add, most charming contributing editors, who's here tonight to speak about his brand new book, Capitalism for the People, Recapturing the Lost Genius of American Prosperity. Now, when Luigi first arrived in this country to study economics back in the 1980s, he enthusiastically embraced the American dream, the idea that what brings you success is hard work, not luck, not who you know, which was too often the case in his native Italy, as it is in many other democratic countries. This ethos was central to American-style capitalism, which he recognized has been an extraordinary engine of prosperity, making even our poor rich by global standards. Yet as Luigi warns in his extremely important new book, in our new post-financial crisis era of massive taxpayer bailouts of failed banks, of political insiders profiting from their connections to an ever-expanding federal leviathan, of a renewed faith in government planners, of a struggling middle class, the genius of American prosperity is at profound risk. There are disturbing signs, he believes, that the U.S. economy is transforming into a Berlusconi-style crony capitalist system, a development that will prevent us from full economic recovery and mean a bleaker, more corrupt future. Now, how we got into this mess and how, via a reinvigorated, more competitive free market, we can escape it, Luigi addresses in his book and we'll talk about tonight. Luigi received a PhD in economics from MIT and joined the faculty of the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business in 1992, where he's now the Robert C. McCormick Professor of Entrepreneurship and Finance. He's written on a host of financial and economic topics, including in our pages, ranging from financial regulations to the economic effects of culture. His earlier co-authored book was called Saving Capitalism from the Capitalists, a theme central to his new book, too, just as it was for Adam Smith at the dawn of American capitalism. In 2003, Luigi received the Bernays Prize for the Best Young European Financial Economist. He's currently the Vice President of the American Finance Association, the lead independent director of Telecom Italia, and a member of the American Academy of Arts and Science. He also serves on the Committee on Capital Markets Regulation, and he has a long list of other appointments. Now, Capitalism for the People is already generating intense discussion. The economist Tyler Cowen recently said on his very influential blog, Marginal Revolutions, if I had to pick out one book to explain what is going on right now to a popular audience of non-economists, this might well be it. Paul Ryan described it as a must-read that provides a lucid call to action for rediscovering what makes America exceptional. Ross Douthat echoed the point in a recent New York Times column, urging the Romney campaign to read it. All that should encourage you to go out and get a copy if you haven't already. But in the meantime, let me welcome the man himself, Luigi Zingales.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you all of you to come, and thank you to the Manhattan Institute and the City Journal, who not only sort of helped me in the process, but motivate also writing this book. Is not sort of easy for an academics who have a lot of other things to do to write a sort of or attempt to write a more popular book. And I think that the incentives are not there, but I think is the right thing to do. And let me explain sort of why I wrote this book and why I think is valuable and important. As Brian was saying, sort of I was born in a country that invented the term nepotism and basically lived by it, where literally sort of emergency room doctors are chosen on the basis of their political affiliation. Where it's much more important who you know than what you know. And so coming to this country was a first of all, a big liberation, but also make me more aware of, first of all, how lucky this country was and what are the conditions that make it possible to have a system, a meritocratic system, a free market system, which has some wide political support. Because one of the characteristics which is, I think, unique of the United States is that if you go around, the free market system is really supported by a vast majority of the American people. This is not true in Europe, it's not true in Asia, it's not true in Latin America. And my understanding of this, it is because they have experienced a superior form of capitalism. What drives this support for free market system? Because there is a tension between free markets and democracy. Democracy wants somehow tend to have more distribution, and free markets deliver unequal outcomes because these are necessary to provide the proper incentives. So why people should support having an equal outcome? And the answer is because, number one, the system is so productive and so efficient that they make everybody better off, is the engine of growth that Brian was talking about. Number two is because of this growth they get sort of a decent enough share so that even the poor are reached by international standards. And the third one is because they think that this system is fair. And of course, it's a bit of a vicious circle or virtuous circle that what do you think is fair depends a bit on your view. And if your view is sort of the market competition is fair, you view this system fair. But you need to believe that the rules are set and they're not rigged against you to believe in this system. And to my concern, all these elements that really made America great and made this kind of capitalism different from the one prevailing in the rest of the world are weakening. And I think that my only comparative advantage is that I can see these things more clearly because I've seen them before. And what are the elements that make sort of the system more at risk? To some extent, after World War II, in America, we or you, depending on the point of view, had it easy. Why? Because America ended World War II with a gigantic superiority from a technological point of view, and also a gigantic superiority in terms of institutions. And if you were an American firm and you wanted to invest, there was not really a safe place to invest. The vast majority of the world was run by dictators, quite unstable. Communism was taking over country after country, and even Western Europe was not a secure place to do business. So as a result of that, business in America was investing in America, and the typical American worker was getting a rent, we say in economic terms, was getting some extra benefits because it was a scarce factor. The institutions of America were sort of unique to America, and every citizen was getting a sort of extra benefit out of those. Now, America led by example. The rest of the world has pretty much copied what America did. And as a result, these institutions are not so unique. And now the American workers are competing with the rest of the world, and this makes more difficult. So part of what we observe in terms of income inequality is really this competition that is taking place worldwide, and why the top of the sort of distribution of talents and education in the United States is probably the best in the world. That's not true throughout the distribution. And so that really creates sort of a tension and a feeling of people being left behind. But this will sort of has been made worse by the lack of sense of fairness that I think was prevailing in the United States before. There was a sense that you can trust your government authorities and that they were acting in the interest of the country. And this has disappeared. I remember that as an Italian arriving in Boston, the first time there was a tornado watch and there was a city ordinance that everybody had to stay at home and tape their windows. My reaction was, first of all, it must be that the brother of the mayor produces tape. And second, I do exactly the opposite, because what I've learned in Italy is if you